So let's talk about the Okecbot Linux. Why did I actually even do it? So last weekend I made an announcement that we're going to be using Linux for Okecbot, and this is why. So right here I'm on Google Cloud. You could use AWS, which is Amazon. You could use Oracle. You could use DigitalOcean, whichever. But I'm currently on Google Cloud now, which is GCP. So I've head over to the section to create a virtual machine, and I'm currently trying to create an instance. Now, if you look at here, you'll be able to see that this is the machine configuration. So I would show you quite a couple of things. Firstly, let's assume I want to drive huge traffic. I need at least 32 gigs of RAM. So I'm going to high CPU. On high CPU, I'm going to scroll down and you can see 32 gigs of RAM. Now, 32 gigs of RAM, 16 cores. This computer will be more than fast enough to give me over 100k daily visits. Now, if I choose this, which is 32 gigs of RAM, let me come here and expand this. You'll be able to see that a 32 gigs of RAM computer, 10 gig, storage, everything goes down to 578 gig. And that's only because it has like 16 cores. Okay. Now, if I head over to operating system, which is where you have an operating system, and you currently see it's on Linux, right? It's still on Linux. So I'm going to try to change this now from Linux. And I'm going to change this from Linux to say a Windows saver. And I'll try to use the Windows 2025, which is like Windows 11. The bill should double up. The bill should double up. You can see it didn't even double, it tripled. So basically, if I'm to run good traffic to my websites, I would have to spend more if I'm using a Windows computer. Now let's assume I just want, average traffic. I'm not really doing much. So I'm still gonna head back to the E2, but this time around I'll just use something standard, something very small. So I'm going to use the 8 gigs, okay, let me use the 2 core and 4 CPU, right? Okay. The 2 core, 4 CPU at a monthly fee. If I'm using Windows Saver, I get to pay $231, right? So I'm paying almost $250 to get like, a 16 gigs of RAM computer, 4 core, sorry, 4 CPU, 2 core. Now, if I head back here and I change this right now to Debian, leaving it to be at Ubuntu, which is what I was using. No, Ubuntu should be down. Thank you. Ubuntu, which is, my favorite flavor of distro at Linux. You'll be able to see now that the bill would suddenly just drop like very, very crazy. So now, because of this, advantage where a Linux saver, it's kind of cheaper to run simulations than in Windows. Okecbot to be coming on board on Linux. So on Linux savers, it has actually more stability. You can even run more browser pop-ups with the same machine. Like if you have like 32 gig Linux and a 32 gig Windows, you'll be able to run more simulation, more browser simulations on a Linux than you would on a Windows. So not only is a Windows quite more expensive, you also have like overhead. Like because of the overhead, there's kind of low. How do I use it? How do I say it? You get low performance, right? I think that should be the word. But I kind of did it first with Windows because back in the days, everything was on terminal. So as a software developer, when I get to talk about running web automation, being able to like have Puppeteer, Playwright, automate things on the web, I did most of the things on headless mode. Now, if you're a software developer, you already know what a headless mode is. But for those who don't understand, it means the browser is actually running, but you're not seeing it. But it's actually doing everything you intended it to do. So because people would, get hold of the source code and initiate it on their own local machine. And when they run it, they expect to see some browser doing some magic before their very before. And they don't get to see it. Like they don't get to see pop-ups. They don't get to see. They just get to see a terminal, additional things like, oh, the website that's open, navigating, clicking. So they don't actually know, is this really true? I mean, for most people, I mean, it's common sense when you run headless, it runs. But the typical person who wants to see browser web automation software and happen to come across a Nigerian who said he has created a bot and is now running it on a terminal, he's seen the terminal dish out things, but he's not seen any browser. So there are a lot of skepticism. So this was practically why I had to move out to Windows. But I'm not going to discontinue the Windows version. It's still going to be there. What I intend to do is to have the Linux version alongside the Windows version. So if you have a Windows computer and you want to run this on your Windows computer, you can use the Windows version. If you're going to be doing this on the cloud, which is using maybe AWS or DigitalOcean, then you would have to use the Linux version as it's going to be way more cheaper, better performance, and I'll try my best to make it easy to deploy as well. Okay, so this is the updates. When it's going to be coming in? Firstly, I have been having quite a very huge challenge with coming up with consistency, because at one point in time I'm consistent at Okecbot. At the other point in time, I think I'm having some up and down around my life and personal self. So this is also why I'm really happy I learned how to organize things. So I would actually step out. Like at this particular point in time, I want to step out. I'm not able to keep up with services. I'm not able to keep up with the products. I've not automated so many things. So sometimes there are like lots of issues and I don't like it. It's giving us a bad review, it's giving us a bad perception. But I'm thinking of, if I'm able to just force myself and do this Linux version on Windows and have the team handle the rest of the thing, which I want to start overseeing, I will not be available for a very long time. But you're going to be seeing lots of people teaching you about the Okecbot automation software and the updates we're going to be bringing. Okay, so I should have really, really said this, but we're also moving Okecbot from the monthly plan to the yearly plan. So Okecbot is just practically what it is, a web automation software. The after effect is the fact it can automate things on the website, and bots or browser detection systems would not detect those things were automated by a script. So usually Okecbot seeks to automate things to make them you know being run as though a human being was the one on the web doing those things. And so that is what Okecbot drive at. And I'm kind of thinking of expanding this goal to add up lots of AI features to make it easily the features I have in mind. I don't know how to say it without looking like, I'm out of my mind. Jarvis, Iron Man. Iron Man can look at the screen and say, Jarvis, pull up this, pull up that. I want a situation where you completely use prompts, and as time goes on, you completely use speech to control Okecbot. I see a feature where Okecbot becomes an automation software that has lots of browser profile. Each browser profile, it's an account you have created. Like you can have 12 social media accounts, you can have so many profiles, and while you're actually talking to the Okecbot engine, which is a software, it can simulate things in real time and do it as though you're the one doing it. Imagine saying, open up Facebook, go through my messages, and come up with what is it called again? Come up with like a report. Okay, and it can actually pop up, go through it instead of consuming APIs. It can actually like go through like a human being would. Now, could this be done with APIs? Yes, it could. I mean, Meta has APIs you could use to read messages, but I'm talking about an AI that controls the browser as though he's a human being, but it's an AI agent. So you see how the dream is big now for me. But now it's at the expense of delivering the core services we have at the moment. So, coupled with so many things I'm going through in my life, I think I have to start having developers coming on hands. Okay, the update was to tell you we're coming over to Linux. So, you're going to be using it on Linux. The next time, this is Anokek, and see you all.